In this game, winners win, and I only back winners. Trainer Kenny McPeak is a proven winner, and his horses are in my portfolio. And now they can be in yours too. McPeak's champion horses and Derby hopefuls are now featured on Morning Line. With Morning Line, I don't just watch the race. I own the moment. I invest in champions. This is my edge. Buy, sell, trade anytime. Morning Line. Own the game.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Daily Racing Form YouTube. I'm Gino Buccola alongside Ashley Mailloux with producer Bobby helping us out as we get you ready for a big Saturday at Santa Anita. It is Big Cap Day, 4 graded stakes, and one of those graded stakes is the Grade 1 Beholder Mile. We get a Grade 1 for one of the very, very nice animals that we grew up watching not too long ago, Beholder. Let's talk about the race that's named in her honor. We will have this race drawn a little earlier on the card, Ashley, because I think they're expecting a heavy favorite in here with the number 4 Splendora, who is the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint winner. She just recently won the D. Wayne Lucas. She's going to try to go a little bit farther here. She has gotten a mile. She won the Tranquility Lake when she was a heavy favorite and got a mile. But the other 2 times that she went a little bit longer, she finished second. But we have to start with her because she's certainly the class of the field and she's the one to beat.
Yeah, she is the one to beat. I think when you look at her, my one thing would be at Santa Anita. She's got a lot more seconds than she does wins, Gino. And I think part of that has sometimes been the distance being 2 turns. So I don't know how short I would necessarily go on her. I do agree that she's the horse to beat. If she's on her A game, they'll have a tough time. But I think looking at her as a 5-year-old mare, there are some maybe slightly younger foes that could step up.
I completely agree if you want to poke holes in the heavy favorite. And as we flip to the Timeform US Pace Projector, you can say that Splendora hasn't been quite as good going longer, doesn't have as much experience, hasn't been quite as good at Santa Anita as she has been at Del Mar. And then from a pace standpoint, it's a small field, but there could be versions of this race where Simply Joking is forward. I think Dazzling Move's only chances in a race like this, Ash, is if she gets the lead. I don't think she can sit off and really pass some of these horses. I think she has to be in here to be forwardly placed. And then you look at what's going to happen with the 2 Baffert runners, Splendora and Nafisa. I think one of them is going to go, but it's not like either one of them wants to be way, way off it. They want to both be pretty forward. We could have 4 of these horses in a small field, all kind of jockeying for position. If that's the case, I think it opens up for a horse that you and I like a little bit in here, that one with the late pace flag.
Yeah, that being Bless the Broken. It'll be interesting to see what Nafisa does on the outside. She is pretty quick. When you can be effective winning at 6.5 at Del Mar, or still win and crush your competition last out, grade 3 waters going a mile and a 16th, you're pretty talented. So I would pretty much agree with this pace projector. We'll just see how quick they actually go.
Let's meet the field for the Beholder Mile, the B. Wayne Hughes Beholder Mile. This one's going to go as race number 4 on that really strong Saturday card out at Santa Anita. Let's meet the number 1, Almond Joy. This is a grade 3 winning Albred who had a fantastic 2025, Ashley. Aggie Ordonez had a really good last year and a half with the small barn, and all the horses they have are just running really, really well. Almond Joy rattled off 5 wins last year in 2025, but she's going to make her first start as a 4-year-old and her first start since October. So she's now going to have to deal with 4.5-month layoff, and probably the toughest field that she's ever faced. But my counter would be, if you just took Splendora kind of out of the race and you compared the other 4, it's not like she's overmatched by speed figures when you're comparing her to Simply Joking and Dazzling Move and Bless the Broken and Nafisa. It's just Splendora that kind of has run much faster than she has. But I really do think that this gal is moving in the right direction. I respect everything she's done. I would love to have seen one race for her before this race as kind of a prep. But I really do respect her, Ashley.
Yeah, I love this horse, and I don't know Aggie, but I've seen a lot of features on her. I just want to be her best friend. She seems like the nicest woman and one of the nicest people on the backstretch there out in California. I think when you look at her, you can't knock this filly. Her dirt form is tremendous. Her turf form, she's got a couple of okay efforts, but she obviously is really taken to the dirt. She's effective at 1 turn or at 2 turns. The one thing, though, that sometimes gets her into trouble is her style. She's rolling from off of it. You can see that as you go down the page, but Some people might say last time out, okay, is fourth in the Raven Run. That was huge for her. She was jumping into grade 2 water. She was going to Keeneland. She was cutting back slightly back to 7/8, the distance that has been good to her, or at least was at Del Mar, and actually really respect the effort. So I'm with you. I would have liked to seen an effort, but I think kind of looking at her campaign, she's only had one quote unquote break. She deserved it, and excited to see what she can do now as a 4-year-old.
We move to Simply Joking. Ashley, we've talked about this filly a few times. I like her. I'm a fan of hers. My big concern with her in this particular spot, you can see in her work tab. She was working January 31st, and then she was going to run against Splendora on February 7th in the D. Wayne Lucas. I had her picked on top that day. Unfortunately, she had to scratch after the entries came out, and she never ended up running. So you can see that gap from January 31st to February 27th. There are no published works. I get a little worried when you miss a few works like that, and then you have to come in and face a grade 1 field and pretty tough competition. So I would not be shocked at all to see her run pretty well for a minor award. I just don't, I don't know if everything's going flying on all cylinders for her coming into this race with, that gap in the work. So I'm going to use her a little bit more underneath, but I very much respect her. And if she runs well, she's definitely a horse I keep an eye on for her, races down the line.
Yeah, I've always been curious about her, even early on in her career. There's some hype behind her on the road to the Kentucky Oaks, and the Kentucky Oaks, obviously she was keen early and she dropped out of it. But looking at her regrouping process, I didn't mind La Brea last time out. I know she was defeated by 5.5, but she barely missed second when it was all said and done. I was hoping to see her, like you mentioned, in the spot that she was entered. She scratches. You talk about the gap in the works. I will say, at least if you're, only going to show one work, at least it's 58-2, pretty quick. You're kind of cooking with gas there for sure. So we'll see what she can do. 5-1. I just feel like maybe I'm selfish and greedy. I'd want a slightly better price on her come post time.
Yeah, just the way that things are in this particular race in a grade 1. She has some speed, so she can put herself in there. But I agree, like 8 and above, I'd start to warm up to using her in exotics. But I feel like I just need a little bit more. Dazzling Move hasn't been in the best of form. She's a grade 3 winner. She got caught in some traffic last time out, and she couldn't get close to the lead early. She ends up picking some pieces up late. It's now about 4 races in a row where she's been non-threatening. I do expect them, with the blinkers on in this spot, to just try their best to get her out front. Third start of the form cycle. Can she compete with this group?
It's tough for me to see that. I mean, she is grade 1 placed, and she was, second out at Saratoga over sloppy track behind Dorth Fader. I thought she ran fine next time out at Saratoga. And then from there, I don't necessarily love her form, but I don't know, maybe they have found Gulfstream Park not to really be to her liking at this point. And I kind of go down the page. I mean, I know she's got a winner at Gulfstream, but I don't know if she's ever really liked that track, knowing that it is a 1-turn mile. So here she does get the 2 turns, and some horses prefer that a little bit. You see the blinkers go on. She's raced well with blinkers in the past. I think this is just, trying some new things and really trying to get her over a different configuration for a grade 1. I mean, the purse money's lucrative.
If you compare her to Grand Job, the horse who basically wired the field that she was in last time out, that's a much quicker filly than like going a mile. She's really quick, so maybe things can be a little easier for her up front if she gets out front and is able to slow things down. We move to Splendora. She's just been in fantastic form. It's now 4 straight victories for her. She's looking for 5 in a row. She's going to see if she can win a graded stakes now at a mile. So a grade 1 at a mile. But it's just tough to knock her overall form, Ashley. But as you were pointing out, we're in a gambling game here. We're supposed to try to poke holes in some of these favorites. And if this is a very, very short price in a field where we have some questions, there could be some other speed. We don't know how much she really loves races beyond 7 furlongs, and we don't know how much she loves Santa Anita. I think there are at least a couple reasons where we can say, okay, you know what? The value might be in a different direction here. Nothing would shock me to see her win this race impressively, but I thought there were a couple others that might be worth taking a little swing on in this race.
Yeah, we could take a look at her most recent effort. It was her first start as a 5-year-old mare, and she raced very well in the D. Wayne Lucas. It was going 7/8. It was at Santa Anita. We talked about, a lot of seconds at Santa Anita, but how can you knock her? She's 10 for 11 in the money, and those have all been top 2 finishes. She should have won this race, and she did, Gino. So I tried to maybe poke a hole in here earlier when I mentioned this is just different at Santa Anita going 2 turns. She doesn't get a huge field, which probably works well for her. And it's a short price. I think, you mentioned that this race comes earlier in the card. I think for some of us, this might be a pass race, right? Where if anyone scratches, you might look at it and say, okay, I'm not going to bet this. And that's where you'll probably focus in the late pick 4, the late pick 5, which still has a ton of graded stakes in it, 2 grade 2s and a grade 1. But I think this is a good move by, the race office to card the races in this way. And I don't know. I don't think she is unbeatable.
Yep.
I think she can be beat in here. And I think a lot has to do with the distance.
I feel like if she is beat, it is probably because she has to do a little bit too much early on. Like she gets caught up battling early with Simply Joking, maybe with, what happens with her stablemate Nafisa in here. Dazzling Move is also quick. So again, could there be 3 or 4 horses here pushing each other and not the easiest trip for Splendora? If that happens, I think Bless the Broken is really interesting, Ashley. This is a horse who you look at her overall body of work, and she's just done so little wrong. I mean, going back to, early 2025, when she's in the Silver Bullet Day, she's running second behind Simply Joking. Then she's running third behind Good Cheer. She puts it all together for her big victory in the Bourbon at Oaks. Then she's a long shot in the Kentucky Oaks. She runs really well there, finishing third that day. And then I'm fine just eliminating the Acorn because it was on a sloppy track. She just didn't really get a chance in that small field. And following that race, she was off from June all the way to January. When she showed back up in January, first start as a 4-year-old, it was a really nice return to the races. She sat a little bit closer because they were going slow. She put away the early speed like she should. She drew off. And if Splendora gets beat because they go too quick early, I think this is the horse that sits back, that makes one late run, and that can capitalize on that type of trip. And from a price standpoint, if she's 5-1 and above in a spot like this, I think that's actually pretty fair value on Bless the Broken, who is like a new face to me with upside. She can take a nice step forward, second start off the bench, and she might have a ceiling, Ashley, that we haven't seen yet. The rest of the fillies in this field, I wonder if we kind of know where their best race is.
Yeah, it's tough to really gauge that. It's interesting to see her, right? Because we saw her June 6th and then no workouts until late November. And she was purchased in November, right? The connections put her in that sale, sold for $950,000. And now they're obviously excited with what they can do with her off that win. To me, it was a good win. I can't say that I was blown away by it, but I think it was a really productive way to kind of kick off a 4-year-old season for her. I agree with everything that you said. Got to draw a line through the Acorn. Look who won it. Lucara, who comes back in the Azeri Saturday at Oaklawn Park and made the lead. I mean, a dangerous horse if she makes the lead in any sort of situation. And that was exactly what happened in the Acorn. So I'm with you. Bless the Broken. I think there's a ton of upside. And there is a world, I think, where I know she has the LP flag. I'm not convinced she will be last early on, but we'll see, depending how quick they go out there in California.
Yeah, maybe Almond Joy is one that likes to drop back to and make that one late run, but there could be 3, right? If we have, Dazzling Move, if we have Simply Joking, and then one of the Bafferts showing that speed, it should set up nicely for Bless the Broken. Nafisa is so interesting, Ashley. She's a 5-year-old mare now. You don't see many Bob Baffert trainees that begin their career, 0 for 12? And then she rattled off 3 wins in a row. She broke her maiden. She comes right back. She wins her first level allowance. And then she comes back and she wins the grade 3 La Cunada. And after breaking the maiden, she's really kind of stepped up her game. She's leveled up on speed figures and she's won these races really impressively by open lengths. So when you talk about the light bulb angle, this is kind of what people talk about, where a horse who had shown ability, it's not like she was completely dismissed in her earlier career. She'd been lots of seconds, lots of thirds, lots of decent efforts, but wow, once she figured out you're supposed to cross the wire first, it was like, then it all came together in these last 3 races.
Yeah, we'll take a look at her last out effort. I mean, it's kind of interesting, right? You debut in late 23. We don't see you for, 10 months. We see you again, and then you're stretching out. You're cutting back to turf. You're stretching out on turf. You're going back to the dirt. Now you have wins at 6.5 a mile, and as you mentioned in the La Cunada, a mile and a 16th. I don't know. I don't know what's made the difference. We do talk about some horses just being late developers, and obviously they tried different things with her, and she was close a ton of times, but seems to be well equipped for the dirt now. Those last 2, both 83 fire speed figures, they topped her prior best, which was all the way back in November of 24. And, Kazushi's gotten a lot out of her in those final stages of those races. So I do find her intriguing, especially at 8-1, given where she's drawn. She can be quick, Gino. We'll just see how good she is.
Yeah, it's nice that we know that she can be forward, and I think she can sit off a little bit and pass some horses, especially at about a mile here on the slight cutback with that outside draw. This video is sponsored by morningline.io, SEC regulated marketplace where approved participants can trade licensed interest in racing's biggest stars. Be part of championship bloodlines. Just visit morningline.io. Buy, sell, trade, own the game. So it's an intriguing field that's certainly led by Splendora. But Ashley, you and I thought that Splendora could be a little bit vulnerable in here, and we're both going to go in a slightly different direction. So talk to us about how you stack them up with selections here.
Yeah, in terms of selections, we'll both go with Bless the Broken. I think in the fact that you kind of look at her running style, right? She probably will come from off of it, but she's regrouping for new connections, second off the freshening. She showed some talent as a 3-year-old, and I don't really know how good she is. I want to see how good she is. And I think, with having that race, she gives someone like Simply Joking a little bit of an edge, just knowing that we have been able to see her once this year.
Same 4, just in a slightly different order for Ashley. 5, 4, 2, 6 for me. 5, 4, 6, 2. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We have a lot of race previews coming up this weekend. We'd love to hear from you. Do you agree with Ashley and I? Are you going to try to play against Splendora, or do you think Splendora is just a little too tough here? Drop a comment in the comment section below. Whoever you play, however you play them, we wish you the best of luck.